you have been studying English for a while now and you would consider yourself an intermediate or an upper intermediate student and you still can't understand native speakers, or you miss jokes when you're watching TV series, or you don't understand native expressions, you might not have a problem with English, but you might do have a problem with cultural knowledge. Hi, I'm Luana. I have been an English teacher for over 10 years now, and my focus is on communication and cultural knowledge. So I decided to start this project where I could give my students weekly recommendations for things that they could listen to or watch to improve their cultural knowledge, their context, so that they would be able to understand jokes, references, and understand native English as well as they do with English as an international language. So for this week's recommendation, I discovered a podcast, and I think it's going to be really interesting for people who are both interested in culture, pop culture, movies, and so on, as well as in business. So every week I go on YouTube and I try to find an interesting content for my students to watch. And this week I decided to go to Harvard Business School YouTube channel to see if I could find anything. And while I was scrolling here, I saw this video with Reese Witherspoon. And I know her because of her Hollywood career. So she was in Legally Blonde, one of my favorite movies, and many others. So she was very famous a while ago for my generation. And I saw that she did this podcast with this Harvard professor. So I learned that this professor, he talks with founders from companies, and he interviews them to understand founder to founder what they did to become successful. And for you to understand this podcast, you first need to understand who is Reese Witherspoon and what is her company. So this is her. You probably know this face, and she was in Legally Blonde, as you can see here. You probably know her as Elle Woods. So she was a classic, 2000s Hollywood actress, but she started a company, a genius company, a while ago, and it became really successful. In the podcast, she explains the origin of the creation of the company, so I'm not going to go in detail about the creation, but I'm going to tell you what it is. So, you can see here, this is Hello Sunshine, this is her company, and basically what she does is put women in the center of the story. So you can come to the website and learn more, but it's a production company, so they raise the costs and they make sure that they can transform a story, a book, or an idea into a movie, a TV show. She started Hello Sunshine in 2016, but 1 year later she started Reese's Book Club. And here is where things get interesting. She selects authors and books who are, popping up, who people are talking about, and it's buzzing. And what she does is she buys the rights for those books to transform them into movies. So basically, she goes to an author and she says, hey, I want to do a movie out of your book, out of the story of your book, and I want to buy your rights. So because she has the rights, she can now produce the movie, make the movie happen, creates the movie, and then she receives revenue for that. So that's why it's $1 million company. And of course, the author gains money first by selling the rights. Two, they get recognition because when a book becomes a movie, it opens up a whole new market for that author, and also recognition by being part of Reese's Book Club. You gain a lot of view, and I read, you can research after, but I read that a lot of these authors that sell their rights, they become executive producers in these movies, so they still earn a significant amount by doing the movie. Of course, this is not standard, so it depends from author to author, but it's still another way where they can make money. So do you see how genius this is? Because she has the whole ecosystem designed for her, or she designed this entire ecosystem. First, she noticed the lack of women representation in Hollywood. Then she said, where will I find these stories? How can I make these stories come to me? So she started the book club because, as we know, movie adaptations or book adaptations to movies are very popular. So she started a book club. Everyone wants to join in. So she created this big community and people are curious. So they go to the book clubs. And then because the book becomes really popular already, people are excited to see the movie format. So when the movie releases, the base promotion of the movie is already there. So it's genius. Then now you will be able to understand the podcast. In this podcast, she talks about her founder mindset, what idea led her to create Hello Sunshine, and she talks about how she sold it as well. So now that you have the context, you will be able to understand the references that they make. So this is why learning English is not a linear process. You need to have cultural context, cultural knowledge. So I'm gonna leave all the links in the description below. Make sure you watch, you read, and if you want to be part of our conversation club where we discuss all these subjects with the help of an English teacher to help you improve your spoken English, make sure to check our website. I'm gonna leave it below and you can be part of our conversation club too. And that's it. I will see you next week with more recommendations on how you can improve your English with communication and culture.